Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Now, welcome back to Tip Today. We're in the last hour of this Tuesday's edition of the programme, and it is Donal here for Fran in the hot seat for the one more hour anyway at this stage. Now, it's time to go to our Dear Phil segment, a beloved segment every week, and I'm delighted to be joined in our studio down in Clonmel by our Agony Aunt Phil. Good morning, Phil. How are you?
I'm really well, Donal. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I'm all right. Any excitement in the fine weather for you?
Always excited when I see fine weather and good, where you can go out and get your walks in or your cycles in or whatever. It's always a good thing, isn't it?
Or mow the lawn
kind of
or
positive.
Something useful.
Oh, no, the husband does that. God, geez, the women wouldn't do that.
Well, in my house it has to go both ways sometimes because I'm not always around in the evening early enough to get it done. But we're always working on that one. That's a kind of a two-way street, I believe. The people are starting to feel a bit of spring coming in, but we do have a couple of questions in from our listeners. If we want to have a look at those, Phil, for today. And can I start with this one? Dear Phil, I'm writing because I feel I don't quite recognise my wife anymore since she started going through menopause. I understand it is a difficult and very real stage of life for her, and I do try to be patient and supportive, but her personality seems to have changed quite a lot. She's often angry or irritable, and small things can quickly turn into big arguments. It feels like there's a constant tension in the house that wasn't there before, and I'm struggling to adjust to it. I love my wife, and I don't want to make this about blame, but I'm finding it emotionally difficult, and if I'm honest, I miss the person she used to be. I keep wondering when or if things will settle down and I'll get my wife back again. I don't know how to support her without feeling like I'm walking on eggshells all of the time. I'm starting to feel quite lost in our relationship. Any advice on how to cope and how we might find each other again would be greatly appreciated. Okay, there's probably a lot in that, Phil.
There's a good letter, actually, and it's quite usual that when menopause starts for women, and it can start at various ages, but it can start from late 30s, early 40s, and it can be a very irregular event when it first happens. And that can be very difficult because for the woman, she doesn't know when her cycle is going to just stop. Will it stop? Will it continue? And will it be 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, and then suddenly nothing for 4 months, and then suddenly she could have a quite heavy loss. So it's what I would advise in this case, because at least he had the interest to write in, is to have a read up on what happens during menopause and how women can be affected. And there's a significance about what I'm saying there, because women can start putting on weight, and when you're getting your hormones are much less that were in your body, and you're feeling differently and you're feeling maybe a bit sluggish or a bit off, it can be very difficult to acclimatise to it. And so it's a good advice for both of them to read up about the menopause and see how it is. He knows the rules of it, but you don't know how women feel, and sometimes it can be very, very difficult. And particularly when the cycle becomes very irregular, and women could be menstruating every couple of weeks, or it could stop, and it might never start again. And it's not knowing, I think, is the thing. It's a good idea at this point as well for ye to go and have a chat maybe with the advanced nurse practitioner or your GP and have a chat about what to expect. There's a whole range of things now that people can do as long as they have knowledge about what's happening to their body and what are the expected changes, and not to over worry too much. There's also this whole, I suppose, camaraderie that you can look up online at any time about any particular issue that you have with your body and body changes and menopausal changes, and once you know how to deal with that, there's a lot of things that can happen. You can get medications, you can get creams, you can get moisture, you can get anything you want in relation to how you can deal with how serious it is for the woman. So the best thing you can do is give her plenty of sympathy when she's not feeling the best. And it's nice to be nice. It's not her fault if she's short-tempered or in bad form, because it's not a very pleasant event. And especially the hormonal changes and the lessening off of hormones is something that really does cause a little bit of difficulty for women. So I would say read up about it and see that sometimes keeping your mouth shut is the best thing, actually. And, hopefully that's...
keeping your mouth shut is the best thing, Phil, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So look, I just think it's good that he's written in. I know he misses the person she used to be. She's still the same person, except that her body is undergoing changes that are, hormonal and related to hormones. And so whether she gets an influx of hormonal angst or whatever happens, a bit of sympathy goes a long way.
Yeah, and look, this wasn't talked about much in the past, but it is being highlighted a lot more in recent years, Phil, and it's something that it's going to affect almost every household to some degree or other.
Oh yeah, and the cycle irregularity can take a couple of years to settle into being finished and being truly in the menopause. So, and there's lots and lots of things people say, like keep active, keep healthy. Now that can be very difficult to keep active when you're feeling rotten, and every woman will identify with this, but so will the men, because they're going to be suffering as well by the fallout from this. But I think to have open communications and respect for what happens with women's bodies that is different to what happens to men's bodies. I think, in many cases, I think women get a bit of a raw deal, and I do think that men are much more interested in knowing exactly what to do. And really, all you have to do is have a bit of sympathy. Don't react too much to a bad form or a bad move. You don't know what way she's feeling, and also she doesn't know when the next event is going to happen for her.
Yeah, I suppose a part of the issue is that sometimes the onset of it, women don't know themselves that it's happening, and they kind of realise as it goes along. At least in this case, he seems to be aware that there is something happening, but they probably need your advice then is they probably need a bit more, and maybe there is treatments or something that could help.
Absolutely.
But the knowledge, I suppose, and the exploring that together probably will help things and getting that out in the open as well.
Exactly.
It's a very hard thing to say, I'm walking on eggshells around here because I don't know if you're going to explode on me. But that seems to be what he's working up to, which isn't the way to go.
No, but I think if he reads up about it, he'll get certainly a flavour of how women can feel and what kind of happens when the whole menopause thing starts. And that can be difficult because there's different elements to it that can cause pain and difficulty for women to have any sort of intimate relationships, and that can be difficult as well. And also it can be difficult for the man because he didn't have to worry about things like that, and it's a bit different when you're aging.
Yeah, but there is treatments that might be applicable as well, which is a major help.
Absolutely. And there's all sorts of hormones women can take now as well, and there's all sorts of supplements they can take and you can get them off the shelf, so it's not as if they have to be going to the doctor or whatever. And also women are great at talking to each other, and they get a lot of help that way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, good advice there, Phil. We'll move on to the next one. Dear Phil, I never thought I'd be the kind of person to write into a radio segment like this. I don't even listen to local radio. Oh, that's the person's first mistake. But I happened to catch your Dear Phil slot in my mum's car the other day, and something about it stuck with me. I'm in my second year of an English literature degree, and recently I've come to a difficult realisation. I don't think this path is for me. I used to enjoy reading and writing, but somewhere along the way it started to feel more like pressure than passion. Now I'm finding myself going through the motions, struggling to stay motivated, and questioning what I'm actually working towards. What makes it harder is that my parents have worked incredibly hard and made sacrifices to send me to college, and I feel a huge weight of guilt even thinking about stepping away. At the same time, I look at some of my friends who chose trades. They're earning, learning, practical skills and seem to be genuinely happy. I can't help but wonder if I've taken the wrong route. I feel stuck between not wanting to disappoint my parents and not wanting to continue down a path that doesn't feel right for me. How do I even begin to have this conversation with them, and how can I figure out what I should do next without feeling like I've failed?
Well, I'd say the first thing that he should do or she should do is talk to their tutor, because they will have met this kind of a thing happen for people many times, and a lot of the time people, when they're doing a degree, they kind of get to a certain point in it where it's not as exciting as it was, or you're just thinking, oh, I don't know if this is for me, and this is what this person is saying, I don't think this path is for me. Look, I would say have a chat with the tutor and see if, I don't know how long, if this is a 3-year or a 4-year degree, so depending on that, you could have to make a decision that it's not for you. But I do feel for this person, because they're having difficulties. A lot of times there are resources within the college system where they can have a mentor who they can go to, and they're very good at giving advice. They're very good at steadying how someone feels. And I do think as well, it's very hard if parents have made sacrifices to send them to college, because there is, as he has said, or she, that there's a huge weight of guilt for thinking even about stepping away. Now, if he's in his second year, or she, and it's a 3-year degree, you know what, it's not that long to keep going. And I think with mentoring from the system within the college, you will have ample resources to help you feel to get through this period of time. You will have a degree at the end of it, and you're then open to going to any of the other things where you feel, where you want to go and do something else, or something that's actually completely different to what you're doing now. And your life is all ahead of you. So I would say talk to your tutor, talk to your college supports that are in place. There is a counselling service there as well, and you'll definitely get the help you need to be able to come to a conclusion about what is best for you. And also make sure to include your parents in it, saying that I'm really a bit flummoxed at the moment. I don't know whether this is right or whether it's for me. And when you have talked to a good few people, and especially the people within the system that can deal with and have seen this over and over again, you will get the help you need. And I wish you well with that.
Yeah, that's interesting, Phil, because the way I read that, I kind of assumed the person had made a decision that they didn't want to continue, and they were more asking about how to break it to their parents more than what they should do. But they're not mutually exclusive. Just going by your advice, because like you can look at both sides, can't you?
You can, but he said, or I don't know the sex of the person. I used to enjoy reading and writing, but somewhere along the way it started to feel more like pressure than passion. And you know what? We can't have passion all the time, and we can't have pressure all the time either. But when something is evolving and you're going through a degree course, there's a point in it where you have to say, well, I need to apply myself here for a while. And that is what the whole system within college is, where there's mentors, there's support people, there's people that can give counselling, there's every available help that's there to be used. And I think it's fair to say that sometimes all you need is to have a little bit of break it down into small chunks. You don't have to do everything all at once. This person is well on the way to getting and securing a degree.
Yeah, and that degree could be useful in the long term anyway. I think they said they were studying English, so it's probably an arts degree. So, look, that doesn't preclude them from doing anything in the future, does it?
No, in fact, it opens the door to having one degree under your belt. It can mean that they can do a shorter time to advance in any in any direction that they want to go. The world is their oyster, and not to over worry, not to overthink, and like that, using the system within the college that's available to them to help.
Yeah, I suppose part of what they said as well was they were looking fairly enviously at people who'd taken on trades and apprenticeships by the sounds of things. Maybe they're sort of romanticising that idea. I no longer like studying English, maybe I'll go and work with my hands for a while.
Yeah, and do you know what? They can still do something like that. It's not mutually exclusive that they can do nothing else. If they want to go into working with their hands or something like that, they need to decide what it is they might like to do. And you can do day courses, you can do things and read up about what's available there, but continue with the degree you're nearly through with it, and then decide if you want to go and do something with your hands. A lot of people do.
Yeah. Okay, I need to take a quick break, Phil, but we do have one letter left. Do you mind staying with me for a quick break, and we'll come back to the last letter?
No problem.
Thanks a million.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tip Today on 1800 938 007.
Now, this is Donal Doyle in for Fran Curry on the final section of Tip Today this morning, and Fran will be back tomorrow. But right now we are still in the middle of our Dear Phil segment, and we have one more letter, Phil. If you don't mind, I'll read that. I'm actually so embarrassed writing this, but I don't know what else to do. My family are always making really horrible racist and homophobic comments like it's just normal, and it honestly makes me feel sick. They'll say things at the dinner table are watching TV and then laugh, and even my little brother has started copying them now and saying the same stuff. I feel like I'm the only one in the house who thinks it's completely wrong, and it makes me not even want to be around them sometimes. I keep thinking I should say something properly and call them out, but every time I try, they just brush me off, tell me I'm being too sensitive, and so it feels pointless. I don't know if I should keep trying to stand up to them or just ignore it and keep my head down until I can leave. It's really getting to me though, and I hate feeling like this in my own home. What should I do?
Donal, this is quite a sad letter, really, because the parents are obviously very poor role models, and I think everybody has a right to dignity, and I really think it's horrible that they would make racist and homophobic comments about anyone. And I think as well, when there's a younger person in the house, that it's a very bad example to be giving him, because they're trying to normalise something that they're laughing about people's, whatever their orientation is, and they're being racist. So people of colour or whatever it is, they're just really, really upsetting. Very upsetting, this person in this family. And I think the person, they say I keep thinking I should say something properly and call them out, but every time I try, they just brush me off or tell me I'm being too sensitive. And I think you need to have a response to that, because being too sensitive when you're offended by homophobic slurs or racist remarks about anyone, you're not being too sensitive. You're being proper and right, and absolutely, completely right to actually pick up on it each time. I think it's also important that you should have a chat with your younger brother and say, the way they're talking about these people is absolutely wrong, and it'll never be right, and you can't make it right. And laughing about it and making a joke about it is, I think the important thing here is that you should really continue to keep calling them out every time they make remarks that are offensive, and these remarks are very, very offensive.
And would it be worthwhile saying it sometime, not just in the heat of the moment when everyone else is laughing, but say it at some other time, saying, look, I'm really uncomfortable with this, can you stop, before it's, a group thing?
Yeah, and he can do a number of things. You can write a letter to the family. You can just make a statement saying, I am actually really offended that you're thinking that you're normalising something that's absolutely terrible. It's not good communications. It's not for him to normalise what this kind of behaviour is, because this is not normal behaviour. This is people who have taken a choice to make homophobic remarks and racist remarks and trying to normalise it, and it is not normal.
So keep making a stand and try and talk to your brother as well is good advice. We're really up against time. Phil, I'm sorry for cutting that one short. We could have talked about that for a little longer. But thanks very much for joining us on Tip Today again.
A pleasure always, Donald. Thank you.
And thanks to all our guests and callers and texters and listeners today. And thanks to Leanne for producing. I've been Donald Doyle, and Fran is back tomorrow. Now it's time to go to the newsroom back in Clonmel.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puckon. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puckon. See slatterysgarage.ie.